قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا مزيدا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. Now that's Rahbah. Let's go on to Rahbah, the next ibadah. He used the same proof, like I said, for Rahbah. And he'll use the same proof again for the next one, which is Khushu', like he used the same one for Raghbah. So for all three, he used one proof. We'll get to that proof. Rahbah is fear. It's like Khawf, which also means fear. Khawf and Rahbah both mean fear. It's special fear. It's the peak of fear. It's a higher status of fear. It's not the regular Khawf, fear. Just like we said earlier that Raja and Raghbah are similar in that both mean hope. Raghbah is a higher level of hope. Over here, Rahbah is a higher level of fear. What's the difference between what we took earlier, I think it was last week, of Khawf and Rahbah? Both words mean fear. But there's a difference. And there's a main difference. Two main ones. We'll take the two main ones, the most important ones. The first difference is in the length of Raghbah. It's prolonged fear. Al-Askari, when he mentioned the definition of Rahbah, the linguistic definition of Rahbah, he mentions 2 points. And pay attention to them so we won't get lost. He said the Arabic people used to say Jamalun Rahb. Jamalun Rahb, a camel. That's Rahb. It's a description. Rahb is a description of a camel using the derivative of the root word of Rahbah. They used to say that about a camel when the camel has long bones. Keep in mind, you get out of that the word long bones. Let's take long. That's what we need out of it. Then he mentions his second point, which really boils down to the same conclusion. He said the Arabic people used to also say about a Christian monk, which they still use today, Rahib. Rahib is one of the derivatives from the root word of Rahbah. Why is he Rahib? Why was he called that? The Arabic people used to call him that because he had prolonged fear. So keep in mind those 2 points, we get the word prolonged or long dua or long fear. From those two linguistic definitions of Rahbah, long and prolonged, we learn that it's prolonged or long fear. So you see, it's not regular khawf, fear. It's a higher status than regular khawf. We can sum up the first difference between khawf and rahbah, which both of them mean fear. We can summarize it in one sentence. Khawf is fear for possibly a short time. Rahbah is prolonged fear. It's a higher status. The second difference is khawf is usually for fear that's possible. It may happen, it may not happen. Something that's uncertain. If you remember it, you get afraid. If you forget it, you're no longer afraid. It may happen, it may not happen. It's for that which is uncertain. That's khawf. Rahbah is fear of something that's certain. Not fear of something that's possible or likely like khawf. it's imminent and certain. For example, someone sentenced to death and he's awaiting execution. He's sentenced. He's awaiting the date. That's imminent and certain. So that would be rahbah. It's constant that he's in fear because the execution date is sent and he's awaiting the punishment. Okay, someone in prison awaiting to be sentenced, he's not sentenced, he's awaiting to be sentenced, where he's likely to do prison time, 20, 50 years, whatever it may be. He may get sentenced to death, he may go home free, and he's afraid. He's afraid. To him, it's uncertain. The judge may say life, execution, go home, not guilty, yet he fears execution or he fears prison. That's khawf, because it's possible but it's not imminent. What's the conclusion of those two differences? For our purposes, the ibadah of rahbah is to have prolonged fear of Allah. That's number one. Simply put, rahbah is prolonged fear, not just regular fear, prolonged fear. Number two, it's imminent, constant fear. It's not that it may happen, it will happen. We spoke on the regular fear previously, so there's no reason to go over the regular fear again. When is rahbah shirk? If one has prolonged, constant fear of a person in a grave, that's shirk akbar. If fear of someone living in that which they have a fear which matters that only Allah can do, or inanimate objects, that's also, and it's prolonged fear, that's shirk akbar. The author uses the verse, رَغَبًا وَرَهَبًا وَكَانُوا لَنَا خَاشِعِينَ. But also there's فَإِيَّايَ فَارْهَبُونَ, additional proof for that. Have rahbah only from me. Now let's take how shirk is in relation to the difference between khawf, which is regular fear, and rahbah, the higher standard. If you fear from one in a grave, someone's in a grave, or inanimate object, any type of fear. If you fear him, someone that's living, the same fear you fear from Allah, that's khawf, right there. That's regular shirk akbar. What about shirk rahbah? If in addition to that fear I just mentioned to you, in addition to that, it's coded, or you combine to that it's certain you fear, it's certain what they will do, it's not likely, but it's certain what they're going to do to me, then that takes it up to shirk of rahbah. Or if it's prolonged fear, if you add to the regular fear the certainty factor, then it's shirk rahbah. And if that fear, that's the first one, if that fear is prolonged fear or long fear, then that is shirk of rahbah. So if you add to the fear that it's prolonged fear, that's rahbah. If you have the feeling that it's imminent, what they're going to do, that's rahbah. That takes it from regular fear to rahbah. Certainty of the matter makes it, or prolonged fear, takes it to shirk al-rahbah. It will fall under the definition of shirk al-rahbah. And that's how you know the difference between the regular shirk al-khawf and shirk al-rahbah. Fear combined with the heart, fixed that the harm will reach one, or if it's prolonged, that's shirk akbar of rahbah. That's the shirk akbar of rahbah.